back to the Mel K Show. I am always telling people that there are people out there that you should be following and listening to who are giving the perspective of that has informed me over the last several years and really taught me a lot along the way. And one of those people is my friend Bernie at Truth in Our TV, and I'm excited to welcome him back. Thank you for joining me, Bernie.
Hey, Mel. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that question, Mel. I think the best way for me to answer your question is to put things in the right context and to illustrate the elements of the overall battlefield. We begin with things that are happening that are biblically based as it relates to the topic that you brought up. There's a story being told from the creation of man and the promise that God gave to Abraham, and that being God selecting his people, the Jewish people, and the battle they went through, the obedience and the disobedience, and the ultimate punishment and rejection of the Jews by God, but God promising that he would bring his people together in the end times. Some people understand that, some don't. Some know about it, but they don't want to get into that. Some believe in other religions. There are several other religions out there, many others. But so that's one piece of the puzzle. Right now, we're seeing the manifestation of the end times, the last days. In 1948, we see that Israel comes together after 2,000 years of being scattered. We know about the punishment. We know about the suffering of Jewish people. We know about the 12 tribes of Abraham. And, a lot is we're heading in that direction in terms of biblical prophecies. What is happening? Israel, the people of Israel being brought together. Does that mean that they are perfect? No. Does that mean that they are sinless? No. Does that mean they are in any way better than anyone? No. Does that mean that there aren't Jewish people that are playing a lead role in this global order? No, that does not. It doesn't mean any of that. It does mean that we should be monitoring that trajectory. Then I'll leave that alone, even though that's very loaded. Then there is the global agenda that all of us have been covering for many years.
Right.
And, they have plans. They've made it clear to everyone. It's not conspiracy theory. They are announcing it right to everyone's face. And that involves the enslavement of humanity. Why would you let little people have their way when you can have this one world order? And, without getting into that. So we're seeing an advancement of that agenda, which involves Marxism, uniquely participating in a global agenda with the Islamic Caliphate, this Muslim ideology that's right now. So it's interesting. I want to be sure that your audience understands. I started with the story about Israel for a reason, because once you understand that story, then you can understand why these secular, humanistic, these people that are atheistic in their belief, these globalists, how they amazingly their agenda seems to overlap nicely with the agenda of this religion that happens to hate the very people that we just talked about in this first phase, in this biblical story that's being told. Right. So some people might say, oh, that's a coincidence. No, it's not. So once you understand these two elements, then we can talk about the other elements that are unfolding. So again, the enemies of Israel are in perfect synopsis, and they're in the same exact page with this global United Nations agenda. And before October 7th of last year, Mel, some people would have said, Bernie, what are you talking about? But now it's right to your face. And their agenda, it seems that, and so ultimately in all of this, the common enemy of this rising global agenda that seems to love their Islamic agenda, their Islamic terrorists, their common enemy is one, Christians, and two, We got to get rid of this Israel problem, these Jews. So everyone should understand. And there are three primarily monolithic religions in the world, with Christians and Jews that, that's important. They're inseparable if you understand the Bible. And then you have this religion that hatched really around 622 AD, if you ask me, in some ways out of thin air, this Muslim religion. And they're the only other monolithic religion for the most part that is against the other two.
Right.
Muslims against Christians, Muslims against Jews. No one should, once you understand that biblical story, that's unfolding very clearly. And the Marxists, these atheists, secular humanists, they're loving it because it fits right in, because the biggest problem when you read the writings of Karl Marx and cultural Marxism and communism, the biggest problem for them is this Christianity thing and this Judaism thing. Right. These are the religions that are in the way, particularly Christianity, with this family values thing. And this whole thing about encouraging children, letting them enjoy their innocence, and grow up to be healthy and confident and secure and feeling loved and wanting themselves to start a family. Can't have that. Right. Families are our biggest threat to the Marxist world order. And we're seeing an amazing manifestation of this reality. Out of everything you just said, Mel, probably the most important thing is the last thing you just said. Right. I don't know what's going to happen. That's probably the most true thing, because no one else knows. We are in a period of mass confusion.
Right.
We are in a period, I've been describing this on my channel for years, where you have on the right, the MAGA echo chamber, or whatever you want to call it. I'll try to be nice while I'm on your show. I don't want to get too many people upset at me. But on the right, what we've seen is a replication of what happens on the left.
Yep.
Stories being circulated, approved by one podcaster, one influencer, one streamer after another, many people following those narratives, people on this side name-calling these people on this side name-calling. What we're seeing is two sides that are all being played that are basically attacking each other.
Yep.
Now,
100%. And
Mel, the fact of the matter is you have different paradigms of beliefs, which I all the time address on my channel.
Yep.
You're either on the left and you believe that Trump is Hitler, and you believe that deep down, you probably know, I mean, now they've got this replacement candidate no one voted for, Obama 2.0, but you know it's not right, but it's better than that annoying Hitler Trump.
Right.
And then you have everyone on the MAGA side, particularly, not the GOP. I mean, there's bifurcations.
Right.
You have the MAGA echo chamber. They're angry because they're being told to be angry. You have Trump complaining every day for years. You have the MAGA influential podcaster, they've been complaining. A lot of them are going to jail. I mean, like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. And so we're seeing obvious unequal application of the justice system, obvious unfairness. Look at the J6 prisoners. Look at pro-life grandmothers going to jail.
Yep. And
you have Fauci the fraud. He's still lapping it off. Should I go all the way? Should I anger your audience? Should we go for it?
No,
we got the fraudster.
Sure.
The fraudster, he's lapping it off and writing books. Right. You've got Peter, what's it? Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, they're lapping it off. They just want a big... You have Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, they're lapping it off. You have Carol, Jean Carroll? She's lapping it off on her way to the bank. I mean, you'd have to be blind, stupid, and deaf to not see what is happening. Right. So then you have another movement that we've been talking about, I've been talking about for years, the trust the plan movement.
Oh, yeah.
You can't keep saying that when the main guy takes a bullet to the ear. You got to let that one go. Because if you trust a plan that involves your guy getting shot, then I don't want to be part of your plan. So I tell people, does that mean there isn't some sort of counter plan? You better believe there's some counter plan. I think they would have taken out Trump a long time ago if there wasn't.
Me too.
So some people are confused. It's one thing to say that there's no counteraction or military or just counter political plan taking place, strategic plan. It's another thing to say that this plan is bulletproof.
Right.
No pun intended. Literally, when the main guy just took a bullet to the ear, excuse me. So that's another paradigm. And then you have conservatives, and I kind of identify with them, that we feel that our values have been left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget this pro-life thing.
Or the guys, they use weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, look at this weird guy. And, they're different now. And, strategically or idiotically, whatever the reason, you have the Trump administration distancing themselves. Well, forget this Project 2025 thing. So, and whether you agree with it or not, there are a lot of conservatives that are looking at that saying, wait a minute. So I think it's interesting, Trump's strategy moving to the left, will it work? Who knows? But we're observing that. What else? Who did we leave behind? And then you have like anarchists, some of these people that all they do is regurgitate negative news. But then if you ask them, okay, the deep state's winning. Okay, what's your solution? Nothing.
Right. Or
so you don't have a solution, then shut up. Right?
Those are the people that say, I don't vote. I'm not political.
Exactly.
It's at this point.
Everyone's evil. Trump's part of the deep state.
Right.
If Trump was part of the deep state, he wouldn't have taken a bullet to the ear. So
yeah.
You can't, that's not a legitimate argument either. But again,
and then
they
you
have
saw
no
some
solution.
of those.
I agree with you, Mel. I agree with you. You cannot allow, if you want to call it your enemy, to continue succeeding for 4 years additional, right. Total of 8 years since Trump was elected in 2016. Right. Should we add the other 8 years of Obama? Should we keep going since 9/11? Maybe we should just keep going to like 1963, with the whole JFK. So yeah, you cannot continue. And it doesn't matter, again, this is where I think it's our responsibility to hold on to truth.
Right.
To easily observable and provable truth. That's where I'm coming from.
I know.
And if it makes me less popular, so be it. So I agree with you that you cannot allow a system to continue succeeding because you think that at some point we're going to reverse it. I can think of a lot of things that have happened the last 4 to 8 years that are not reversible. Yeah. Starting with multiple generation of children that actually believe that they can be another gender. And they're confused. And they're having irreversible surgeries. You see, it doesn't matter what plan you think it's unfolding. A plan is not going to restore someone's sexuality or their mental disability. It's not going to do that. No. And if someone's collecting all your evidence, all your information globally, and they're advancing this, well, you might argue that maybe somehow this is reversible. I can't see how it is that easily. I mean, I don't know if it's me. Is it fake news or not? But yesterday I'm hearing that everyone's social security number was stolen by hackers. Convenient.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying. And I think that the most important element in all of this, and we could see it because just in the last 24 hours, the Kamala campaign is trying to co-opt it. And that is your faith in Christ. Right now, as we speak, Mel, of the Kamala campaign, I saw earlier this morning where they've got the evangelicals for Kamala, which is it's a dichotomy. You cannot, if you understand Christianity, you'll understand this is a dichotomy. So ultimately, you see some of the Trump speeches, we kneel to God and God alone. A lot of people on the right, they're good at quoting scriptures and, some of these cliches. But breaking news, everybody, about being a doer of the word. If you're not a genuine Christian and genuinely putting your trust in Christ, you are not going to be able to truly solve the problem. You might be able to create a temporary solution, but I don't want a temporary solution. I want a permanent solution. But that is the reason I have stood, to the chagrin of some people on my side, on my audience, I have stood with Christian values. Because once you compromise those values, you are now walking into a known template. Yeah. I tell people, read your Bible. When a nation departs from Christian values, that nation, even the United States, will be destroyed. So are we watching the ultimate destruction of America? That is on the table. We don't know. But America has a choice. If they want to cater to left-wing propaganda and to go along with this cultural, what we're watching, Mel, is a cultural operation.
Yeah.
It's a plan to have everyone on board. They're worried, as you said, everybody's worried and confused, and they're jumping on board. We got the rappers for Trump. No, and I'm not trying to, okay, probably.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't want to offend too many people, but you've got all these people, and the alphabet group for Trump. You can only go so far with that. You can only appease the culture so much that will not bring you to the end zone, to use a football analogy. You might get to the 10-yard line, you might even get to the 5-yard line, but you ain't getting into the end zone. Because to really score victory for a nation, you've got to do what the founders did and put that nation in the principles, rise it in the principles of Scripture and morality. So the founders understood this, and the more we allow the enemy to keep scoring points on us, now you have Tedros Ghebreyesus coming out. Oh, well, now get ready. We're going to hit you with monkeypox. And at this point, I almost don't even care. But I do care. I don't want your audience to think I don't care.
I know what you're saying.
It's outrageous. We're literally going through the 2020 script all over again. And like you said, if you look at social media, people are complaining about whether Kamala is using a fake audience with AI or CGI, or like her accent, she's pretending to be. Those things are funny and all that, but we've got to go beyond that. We have, like you said, the real villains are actually lapping it off. Yeah, and to really, so let's get to focused solutions.
Great.
And analysis.
Great. Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
People, so what we've covered here in our conversation, Mel, is that you have people that are blindly and almost naively putting all of their trust on Trump when Trump has already demonstrated during his first 4 years his limitations that exist when the deep state, to use a broad term, makes big moves.
Yes.
I mean, if you're the deep state, you've been winning since 2020, January of 2020.
Well, they've been winning since 2016 when they kicked off the Crossfire Hurricane.
If you believe the Trump, Trump tells everybody at these rallies that, I came through in all my promises. In that world, again, we have to kind of for the sake of simplicity, try to work with me here. Obviously, they've been winning a lot longer, but I'm just saying, if you are so excited about the Trump 2.0 coming back in January, which will be when they implode the economy. Excuse me. Just kidding.
That's true.
You look back at 2020. So we've seen, the point that I'm making is just simply having Trump in the executive branch, you thinking that's the solution. I want to encourage your audience to take a higher view. Let's go up to 40,000 foot.
Great.
Instead of thinking of Trump as being the solution, think of the executive branch. What can the executive branch do to solve this problem? And so here it is for everybody. While all of this craziness is happening, all these entertaining stories, everything of the last several years.
It's crazy.
All these polls, like I tell my audience, you know what? You can have your polls. I don't care about any polls. I don't care about any rallies. I don't care. You can have your rallies and you can have your polls. And you can even have your little interviews. I don't care about any of them. I don't even watch those. I watch the highlights later on. I'm not interested. I need my big event. So by that, I'm watching the executive branch. It may be Trump. It may not be. Maybe they will put him in jail, and who knows? I don't think so. I think they're going to let him in. I think they're planning for him to come in. But either way, my future is not dependent on this one guy from New York filling in the executive branch. Two, I want to tell your audience, keep an eye. There is a branch of our government that has been recording. I shouldn't even say this. They're actually recording many, many crimes for many, many years now. and that is called the legislative branch, especially since McCarthy started all these committees years ago.
Right.
They are recording and they're having hearings. I'm not going to say much more, but I'm just, for those of you watching, keep an eye on this, because again, the legislative branch is recording a lot of historical events, crimes, for years now.
Yeah.
Hence. And then you have the judicial branch that has been observing all of this, choosing when not to act. I mean, if you're going to tell me that they stole the election in 2020, like most of us believe, Trump's got his, I mean, you have a 6-3, I mean, conservative, I mean, what else do you need? And you still can't get the ball into the end zone. So watch the judicial branch choosing not to act as it relates to the solution that we're looking for.
Right.
Watch the legislative branch as they're recording all of these crimes, getting them on record, knowing that the courts in general are not reliable.
Right.
How do we know that? Look at the 2020 situation, 2022.
Or January 6th.
If you cannot rely on judges and you cannot rely on the justice system that is jailing pro-life grandmothers while you have cartel members and terrorists running around lapping it off.
Yeah.
If you can't rely on a system like that, then maybe you're going to have to track all of this using the legislative branch. I'm hoping, Mel, that we're looking at a situation where the legislative branch is tracking all of these incredible crimes, and then they will hand that information to the military, to someone. And I'm hoping that whatever happens with the executive branch, that we, the people, are fully involved, like you said, and then we'll see what happens, whether it's Trump, whether it's someone else. The solution has to, from our standpoint, we need to be focused on relevant action and, being involved. Oh, absolutely. I kind of, not, well, maybe I won't do it now, but maybe I was wondering whether I could share a screen with you, but
yeah,
I'm not even going to pull up. I have all kinds of charts that I use that that address this. Maybe we'll do it another time, but I agree. When one of my charts that I use, I have what's happening. It's a 3-part element.
Oh, sorry, I messed it up.
Oh, that's okay.
I didn't do it.
I will leave it at that.
Go ahead.
I mean, those people that I share these charts on my channel all the time, but really, you have what's happening now, box number 1.
Right.
Past crimes, box number 2. And then the future function of the republic. That's box number 3.
Right.
Those are 3 separate things. And a lot of people, they're just accepting all this crazy news without organizing. It's one of the things that I like to do. I like to organize things for people. That is a good question. That is one of many, many issues. My gut feeling is we're not going to reverse that because the information is valuable to them. I think that we will see some sort of restructuring of how it's presented. Maybe I'm wrong. But okay, privacy. I see where your concern is regarding privacy, but these concerns, there are many, many other forms of it.
Yeah.
I mention to my audience all the time, and maybe I'm just going to do it. Let's talk. Look, the structure of the Constitution. If you're not going to have a reset, like the deep state, they have their great reset. Well, we need our reset.
I agree.
And I don't see any way to do that without some sort of military intervention. Now, the globalist Marxists, one of the biggest weapons that they have, get ready for this, is the Constitution itself. If you have the 10th Amendment, it doesn't matter who you put in the White House.
Right.
Look, the reason the enemy was able to be so successful during COVID, to where practically Fauci the fraud was running this country, it doesn't matter what anybody has to say. Factually speaking, the fraudster was in complete control.
Yeah.
The reason they were able to do that, among many reasons, is that they were they have the loopholes that they need built into our own Constitution, including the 10th Amendment. And throughout COVID, even now, when you interview Trump, he'll tell you, well, we don't want to impose national abortion ban on the states. We would never do that. That whole thing with the 10th Amendment, it's a catch-22.
Explain that, because a lot of people are saying the 10th Amendment is the way to dismantle the bureaucracy in the deep state by any agency that's not constitutional being dismantled. But
goes both ways.
Great.
It goes both ways because in one scenario, you have, people think of tyranny at a national level. I get it. But when you look at what happened during COVID, there's your example. So those people are going to say, well, Bernie, I would rather see half the country under tyranny and the other half not under tyranny. I get it. That's their main argument.
Right.
But under that condition, I mean, look at California. We could go through a lot of blue states. You could say, well, we need to elect people there. Okay. But I'm just saying.
But those same people keep winning there. I mean, it's not, you and I both left
free
California.
Speech. They're using, all the time, they're resorting to constitutional principles to try to push their agenda. Right. Half the times they're wrong. But again, it's not as easy as people think. And you could argue both ways. But again, the blue state, in other words, no matter what happens, who you bring into the executive branch, you still have states that are going to have policies that allow children to be oppressed and children to be brainwashed, children to be abused. You still have, those states are going to allow criminals, these sanctuary states.
Right.
They're going to bring in illegal aliens. They're going to have uncontrolled criminality, and you have corrupt police. DA Soros knows he's got his 10th Amendment where he can fund individual states. And we're still dealing with a two-sided chess game.
I think that's so important. I never heard somebody turn it around, which is why I love your show and why everyone watches you do. Because you turn it around to the other side. Nobody ever looks at the dark side of the moon.
And again, we have the template of, if we can just use the template of COVID.
Yeah.
So if somebody could say, oh,
Great
Bernie,
point.
I'm looking at this template, you're still wrong because, please show me how I'm wrong, because the template speaks for itself. Think of it this way. If you're the globalist, you could go for a national sweeping destruction of the country, which everyone's going to notice, or you can use that beautiful 10th Amendment and incrementally destroy the country where it's not as noticeable.
Right.
And you can go one state at a time and incrementally change it from within.
Yeah.
So in other words, here's the problem, Mel, that we've been hearing, a lot of us, I'm sure you have too. You have a lot of researchers and truthers and digital soldiers out there. Everybody thinks they have it all figured out. But here's the problem, that it doesn't matter what anyone has to say. The enemy, they have plans.
Oh yeah.
As well. They have checklists. They believe in the art of war. They are very, very smart. Yeah, well, let me chime in. So what do you make of this? I mean, that neocon movement did, I noticed that no matter how bad something is, there's always something that you can extract from it that has some value. And when it comes to the whole neocon mentality, the libertarians are not going to like this. They're going to, like, Mel, who's this guy? Well, I know the libertarians are going to freak out now. But peace through strength is something that you can extract from the neocon.
I agree.
Everything that you said.
Right, that's true.
Because when Mike Pence is saying, hey, everybody, no time for games, or when Lindsey Graham is saying, look, we need to strongly defend Israel, and when, or Lindsey Graham or one of these guys is saying, look, we can't play softball with Iran, and you have, at the same time, Tucker Carlson and all the libertarians, when they're out there saying, no, are we supposed to allow Iran to get away with killing our soldiers? Wait a minute. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle. I get it. the whole neocon mentality, and in many ways it died. But there is something that came out of it that we probably shouldn't let go. I know Ronald Reagan wouldn't have let go. That is definitely, as you've already pointed out, one of Trump's really strong points. I think it's interesting that the bin Salman in Saudi Arabia just said yesterday, I think it was, or I saw a post on X, where he's saying, well, I'm worried for my life now. I'm being threatened just for wanting to do peace talks with Israel. And I just thought, well, you know, there are many problems: economic, crimes, borders. We could go on, right? We've been talking, but the world theater, I mean, it doesn't get any better than Trump. That's one of his really strong points. That and the economy. I think it's funny that he's coming out yesterday saying that he's going to drop energy costs up to 50 to 70%. I think it's kind of comical. Like at this point, I think he's trolling Kamala at this point. You know, Trump, you sure it's not like 90%? But whatever he does, that and, you know, the world stage and, you know, that whole strong presence absolutely is one of Trump's strong points. And he can take that all the way home. And I think things will happen in that area. And here's one of the reasons, you've already alluded to it. Here it is, because I think I've shared this with my audience. We're watching one headline after another. And what is the headline? What is the essence of that headline? Here it is. They're telling us what someone else is thinking.
Right.
Let that sink in, folks.
That is so true.
What someone is thinking is the headline. Let that sink in, folks.
Yeah.
And when the headline is what someone is thinking, I mean, last week, stolen valor, everything was about, and again, I'm not defending the Waltz. It's just this idea, well, this one guy said, you know, okay, I've been in the military. Maybe if I'm announcing that I'm going to run for Congress, and then in the next few months, I've got my top general telling me, hey, you know, we might go to Iraq. You know what? Maybe I don't want to go to Iraq. Hope. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that's something I'm noticing that's continuing very aggressively, and they're moving really fast. I mean, after the assassination attempt, it was like the very next day, I think 2 days later, already we're having congressional hearings on the assassination attempt. Well, that was really fast.
Right, and that never happened.
And they're using, for example, that platform to get the whistleblowers to come out. Yeah. Where otherwise those whistleblowers would not have had any platform to come out to. If anything, they would have been worried for their lives. Exactly. They're running straight to the legislative branch to give the branch what they know and what they've seen, and then so doing, simultaneously having these hearings with the players, like the acting secretary of the Secret Service, or Secret Service director, interviewing him and interviewing her right at the same time that the whistleblowers, or having her on record, and then the very next day, as I showed my audience, literally the very next day, the whistleblower comes out contradicting what already is on record. So they're capturing these lies. Hopefully they'll do something with this. But that process is happening. And it's accelerating. You're absolutely right. Others, I have noticed that. Because people are so focused on all these ridiculous stories, they're not seeing this.